We often think the key to a successful project is just a bigger budget, right? More money to throw at problems. But what if the real secret is something else entirely? What if it's just one single really smart decision? Well, today we're digging into a real world story that proves exactly that, how a simple pivot took a project from basically stalled to absolutely stunning. Let's get into it.
So that's the big question, isn't it? What's going to get you farther? A huge budget or one clever idea? As we're about to see, a university volleyball team found a surprisingly clear answer when they set out to build their new locker room. Okay, so first, let's meet the main characters in our story, the Howard University Volleyball team. Their goal was really straightforward, but also, super powerful. Look, they weren't asking for the moon here. No over-the-top luxury. They just wanted to finally get rid of those old, clunky metal lockers and create a space that actually felt like them. A space that reflected the pride and the identity of their program, something clean, sharp, and intentional. But as you can probably guess, just like so many great plans, their vision pretty quickly ran into a very, very common real-world obstacle. So this is where the dream hits reality, and bam, it hits a wall. On one side, you've got the vision, these beautiful, sleek, modern gray lockers they'd seen and just fallen in love with. And on the other side, the hard numbers. A budget that just couldn't stretch to cover the premium material they thought they needed to get that look. And this quote from the project lead, Grace Parker, just captures that moment perfectly. The team knew exactly what they wanted, but the numbers just weren't adding up. And that's the exact moment where a project either fizzles out or it gets really, really clever. And that, right there, brings us to the absolute heart of this whole story, the pivot. The one decision that literally changed everything. So, the original dream material was something called phenolic. It's an incredible, super high-end product, but yeah, it comes with a price tag to match. The genius move, the pivot, was to switch to a different material, TFL, which stands for thermally fused laminate. This one simple change gave them the exact same modern look they were going for, but at a cost that fit right into their budget. And this is maybe the most important part of the whole story. Switching materials wasn't a compromise. It was an unlock. Saving all that money on the base lockers suddenly freed up a ton of room in the budget for all the high-impact details that would really make the space feel special. So what did that extra cash actually get them? Well, they were suddenly able to add custom cushioned seating, which is a huge comfort upgrade. They could afford full-color logos and graphics to bake that team identity right into the walls. And they even added an ADA-compliant bench to make sure the space worked for everyone. I mean, these are the details that take a room from just functional to fantastic. This follow-up from Grace really says it all. The things the team thought were completely off the table, the personalization, the graphics, the stuff that makes it feel like theirs, were suddenly back in play. That single choice didn't just save the project, it totally transformed it. Okay, so they've got a smart plan, but a plan's only as good as the execution, right? And in this case, everything had to happen, and happen fast. Seriously, take a look at this timeline. It's genuinely impressive. They went from the very first conversation in the spring to a completely installed, ready-to-use locker room before the preseason even started. That kind of speed is so rare, and believe me, it does not happen by accident. So how'd they pull it off? Well, the secret ingredient was trust and communication. The team at Howard University was just incredibly on top of it, sending back approvals almost immediately. This completely eliminated all those little delays and bottlenecks, which allowed the project to just fly forward without cutting a single corner on quality. So the project was a huge success. The team loved it. But the real story, the lasting impact, is what happened long after the last locker was installed. When you really boil it all down, this is why it worked so well. You had a client who was super engaged and decisive. You had a partner who was focused on creative solutions instead of just saying no, can't be done. And underneath it all, you had this foundation of mutual trust that just made the whole process incredibly smooth. And here it is, the best part. This project wasn't just about one team's locker room. The success, the quality of the final space, it created a buzz around campus. Now the university's softball program is already asking for an upgrade of their own. That's when you know you've done more than just complete a project. You've actually created a new standard. So this whole story leaves us with a really powerful question. I mean, we all face constraints, right? Budget, time, resources, it's just part of life. But as the Howard Volleyball team proved, sometimes the biggest breakthroughs don't come from getting more, but from thinking differently. The most powerful move isn't always a bigger budget. It's that single, smart pivot. So where could that kind of thinking change the game for you?